Recording is on.
Hola, John. Recording is on.
Hi, Augusto. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, maybe, John, let's give a heads up about that the call is being recorded before we
Yes.
start.
Yeah, I think we should always make announcements when it's being recorded.
Anyway, I think that everyone is can see that it's being recorded. Can you see the record icon on the so?
Yes, I can.
Okay, awesome.
Hello, Fruit Loops.
Do you have PeerPad to share the agenda? Let's see if
I just tried to share it. Oh, these links are so crazy.
maybe it works today. Let's see. Okay, today it works. Like I can see the updated agenda. Good. We're not talking about the dev call.
Oh, DevCon.
Maybe the developer calls that we had to.
DevCon. Yeah. We should talk about that too.
Yeah, at least 5 minutes just to talk about it. I think it's important for the rest of the community to know that we are getting organized.
Yes. There are many things going on. Yeah, we also had that DAO Rush week. So on the agenda right now, it will. I don't think there's anything super pressing, but there's a few things that we can kind of discuss, cover. One is that the DAO Rush week, which happened this week, and then I think it's probably worth noting that how we interact with other DAOs. We can talk about that a little bit. I think there's been some interesting back and forth on Twitter with Deep World or Dxdao World or whatever, doing some tracking. Treasury management, I think, is an interesting topic that's gotten some airtime on DAO Talk, so we'll cover that a little bit. And then I think another thing that's kind of a large area of pursuit is how DAOs do their project management and their task management. And then we'll also kind of cover try to do some recap on the other calls going on. So yeah, it's just about the start of the call now, so I think we'll give people a couple more minutes before we start.
Good.
How's everyone doing today?
Good. How are you doing, Ezra?
Hanging in there.
Are you bummed we're not doing introductions right now?
No, I'm
Oh man, that's your favorite part of the call.
How's life in the DevStack world?
It's good. It's good. Actually, maybe now would be a good time to do this while we're trying to get started. But like, we're looking forward to the next kind of iteration of the Alchemy side of product stuff, and definitely looking to see what opportunities there are to work closely with you guys on that. So we kind of maybe are gonna do like a standing invitation to a reasonably small group of Dxdao people, just because we can't do calls with 12 people all the time, to like have a few chats with us to talk about like what directions are good and things like that. We've got a few ideas we'd like to throw around. at you guys, and also would like to hear from you about what you're looking for, not just for obviously, yes, for what is needed for Dxdao, but also potentially for what is needed to help the other DAOs that will follow in your footsteps, and hopefully do that in a way that's beneficial to both of us, ideally. So basically, we might be looking for a few people that would want to participate in those chats.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, so if anybody is interested, feel free to let me know or Elon know. And if not, we'll definitely just ask people. So
yeah, I think that sounds great. Hopefully we'll get people to join. And obviously I think Keybase is a good place too to ask around.
Yeah, I mean, I have no hesitation to just DMing people on Keybase, but it seems like the call is coming up and it seemed like a nice opportunity to just put it out there that we're probably going to try to do that.
Yeah, totally. Great. I guess we can get moving to the agenda as well. Ingemar, do you want to recap the DAO Rush Week? Ingemar was pretty instrumental in planning that and executing it. I helped out a little bit, but yeah, I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. So DAO Rush Week, which is actually still going on, is just a week of events where about 15 DAOs they put up events like just explaining who they are and like how to get involved, and with some fun activities thrown in. So we did 2 events. One was like a 25-minute presentation on like slides that I put together, and John pretty much presented to about 18 people. That was really good. We got a good turnout on that. And then the next day, we had just a sort of general meet and greet, and we had mostly Dxdao people in there, but we had at least 1 or 2 guys who showed some real genuine enthusiasm. That it was really energizing and refreshing to see. So I've also been joining other DAO events to show support and to learn what other people are up to. You know, we're seeing DAOs about gaming, DAOs that's like all lawyers. There's like a sorority DAO of mostly women in the blockchain space. There's Pi DAO, which I intend to check out on Friday. Tons of neat stuff going on. Metacartel, and it's all thanks to Niran, the founder of Panvala, who's actually also a reputation holder as well. So I think it's good that we show support for other DAOs, and we just make ourselves known, and just extend olive branches, because this is open source. We're all about open source. We're all about decentralization, and we're all trying to forward this to the rest of the world. We're still a really small space, so I think it's important that we we do our best to sort of unite under a common, some common causes. So that's DAO Rush Week.
Awesome. Thanks, Ingemar. And yeah, thanks again for putting all that stuff together. Yeah, I think it is also important that we try to, be friendly to other DAOs, all different types of DAOs out there, different efforts. And I think we all have like a lot to kind of learn from each other or to like collaborate on. So yeah, I just think in general that's good. I mean, it is interesting to see some of the comparisons being made on Twitter. Some people are talking about like, how DAO Stack versus Moloch, Metacartel, and whatnot. And yeah, but I don't know if anybody else has thought that. But generally, I would say it's a good idea for us to be as friendly as possible and kind of collaborate with as many people as possible. Cool.
Does anybody else know what we're talking about, or like saw the tweet?
Oh, should we post it? Yeah, I don't want to really want to call anybody out specifically. I think.
Yeah. But just in general, you know, like inter-DAO relations, let's just keep it friendly, and like the temptation might be there to sort of like retort to any kind of like misunderstandings or misinformation. But you know, just know that like if you're representing the Dxdao, you're speaking for hundreds of other people.
Yeah, I want to echo this. I think this is super important. I saw like, you know, there's like this metacartel post and then the retort and then people retweeting and like, I don't think that's necessary. And yeah, just be as inviting as possible and try to explain stuff. Yeah, hopefully, I mean, they will, I kind of feel like they will eventually join because a lot of them are interested in this type of stuff. And yeah. I mean, if we can convert them and join the Dxdao, then I feel like that's the best outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it makes total sense to kind of like, you know, we have a lot of stuff going on. We have a big mission, and we can keep busy with that. And we should be as inviting to as many people who want to kind of take that up with us, and also think about how we can learn from these other communities. Of course, like people are free to say whatever they say, but you know, I think it's also important for people to speak up when they think that, you know, something's inappropriate or too mean or something. Make sure people feel invited. All right, cool. So next thing is treasury management, and this is a topic that's been discussed a little bit on DAO Talk. So I don't know if anybody wants to kind of jump in on there, but I can maybe try to summarize my impression of it. I mean, I think the idea is there's a couple of ideas I think floating around. Go ahead.
John.
Yeah.
Yeah, John. Sorry. Sorry to interrupt you. Before continue talking about that, I just wanna remind to all the people here that these calls are being recorded. So these are public calls. You can see the recorded button on the top right of the screen. So yeah, everything that we are going to be discussing here is going to be uploaded publicly. So let's all be responsible of what we said. This is a public place to discuss all these topics. But yeah, just want to remind that we were supposed to remind, I think, on the beginning of the call, but I think we kind of forgot. So yeah. Let's continue. Sorry.
No, thank you. Thank you for that reminder. I think that's good to make sure people are aware. And everybody should be able to see a recording icon, I think, on the screen as well to indicate that we are recording. So in regards to treasury management, yeah, I think there's a couple of kind of main thoughts here, at least in my mind. One is that right now, Dxdao has north of 4,800 Ether, and so it's all ETH, and we're exposed to the price movements of Ether. So there's been, I think, even like several people expressing the idea that we could diversify that management and maybe put some of it in the stable coins, etc. And then I think the other thing too is that maybe it also makes sense to, and this would be a bigger change, like actually involving, you know, the framework itself or updates how the governance and stuff is managed, so that the money is actually stored in different places with kind of maybe different constraints and in different pools. But I think that's more involved. But something like diversifying the portfolio is something I think that could be done, you know, not super quickly, but relatively quickly. We'd have to add schemes to Dxdao to interact with the requisite DeFi platforms to do the management, but This could be done.
Yeah, so it's been a DAO Talk thread for about 2 or 3 weeks, and the topic has been brought up a lot. And I think, I'm sort of proposing to the group that maybe we have a separate call sometime next week, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, where we just have people sign up for like 5-10 minute slots and just sort of like present their treasury management ideas, stable coins to golds to token sets to balancer pools. Even I would say even the DX vault would count as a treasury management scheme. I think having like an open forum where people actually like speak out in detail and like we're discussing each one by one, and then having some sort of polling or on how best to sort of delegate these assets. So what do you guys think?
I think that's a good idea to allow everybody to speak their mind, and then, I mean, ultimately it goes to a poll, I guess. I meant to actually write on the DAO Talk thread, have some thoughts, but I guess now's not the time to put them out there. We want to give a specific space for that, unless we are trying to get into the nitty gritty here. But yeah, I think that's smart.
Yeah,
Okay,
I like
cool.
that idea.
I'll organize something like that. Cool.
I guess a couple platforms I would like to see discussed that we may interact with would be Balancer, which I think you've already mentioned, and Set Protocol. I think those are both kind of basically portfolio management tools in the DeFi space.
Can someone explain technically how that would work? Like what exactly is going on? Because I don't really understand. I mean, I haven't really studied how like the DAO stack DAO works, but if we did want to diversify some of that ETH into DAI or like USDC or whatever, what is the actual like technical process of doing so? Because like I guess one of the things
in the past,
it's a lot of money, and it's like as long as we're buttoned up on the technical side first, and then we can discuss like how the implementation, right?
Yeah, I think that depending on which of the tools you want to use, it would end up being a little bit different, because there's a big difference between using Set Protocol and just trying to convert some ETH to DAI. In the past, for smaller amounts of money, people have just done really simple proposals where they just say, hey, I want to convert this to this, send me this much money, and I'll convert it and send it back. I don't think that Dxdao would want to do that for large amounts of money. So there are kind of automated ways where there are a few services that I've seen where you can just send funds to an address, and it will send whatever you wanted to exchange back, after having gone to some exchange. But I think that even to do something as simple as like swapping from ETH to DAI, probably try to find as trustless a way to do that as possible. The DAO can, of course, like send or receive either of those, and it can hold any kind of asset. So it won't actually display all the assets in but in terms of the way you'd actually decide to do it, it's more up to the DAO.
Okay, but like I guess there's someone who's also simultaneous, like in parallel, thinking about like what the implementation would look like, and maybe we kind of can chew on that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of think the process would. Yeah, I mean, in general, I think it could be if we have some consensus on kind of the high-level goal for the treasury management, then we can dive deep on the technical solutions. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I think in terms of like if we wanted to use Balancer or something, it's a matter of understanding the calls that need to be made on the Balancer contracts and creating the DAO stack, a scheme to plug into the Dxdao DAO stack framework, which I think there are several, or maybe even many people capable of doing that in the community. And
great.
Yeah, right now the current limitations are that, for example, when you want to interact with the contract that is going to execute any financial interaction, right? So you need to create a scheme that is going to execute a specific call on a specific contract. So right now, for example, we will have to, if you want to interact with a new contract, you need to deploy the scheme, you need to register it. You will also need to test it, right? You will need to test it, you need to audit it.
Of course.
That will be a way to add a scheme layer over the DAO that can interact with a specific contract. Another way, if we are talking about more automated way to doing it in a smart contract layer, because I think that one of the goals of the DAO is not to trust in individuals, but trust the code and automate as much as possible. Will be to create a smart contract where we can send the funds and it's going to execute a certain automated action. Like, okay, it's going to send the funds here, it's going to swap, it's going to diversify on these tokens, and it's going to send the tokens back to the avatar. That is another approach. Right now, we are on the level side, like researching both of them, and there is some work in progress on seeing how can we go to a more flexible scheme that is going to allow us like make these decisions in a quicker way, let's say.
Yeah, or just like in a more repeatable way, right? Like with similar kinds of security, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, I guess like my point generally is I just wanted to make sure like someone was like thinking about this kind of stuff too while we're talking about like how financially we should be breaking up, the treasury.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good question.
Yeah, like they say, it is like they are saying, it is somewhat dangerous to have a scheme that is going to execute every proposal. Yeah, we know. Here we need to figure out how we can gain the security from our governance protocol. So saying like, yeah, we are secure because the reputation holders are making sure that this proposal that we are not going to be that we are going to be taking care of the funds. So yeah, I think we need to find the balance there. That's the most difficult part, but yeah, we are right now thinking about solutions to do that.
Cool.
Yeah, Ezra, do you know what the current like DAO stack efforts are around this generic scheme, or a scheme that allows?
I'm not sure I totally understood, but like I said, there is. I've seen it on testnets. There's just a blockchain interaction scheme that lets you just put in bytecode, in the proposal. Like, so there's a scheme for that that you could add tomorrow if you wanted to. I don't 100% know where the code on GitHub is. It's probably one of the normal places. I think it's called blockchain interaction or something like that. So yeah, that exists now. You could use that now. And then if I don't know if this is relevant or not, but process for making new schemes is gonna get a lot easier with ARC 2.0, but that's a little ways away, and switching to it would be like we talked about last time, a big decision for the DAO. So that's not something I would, we should treat as like a immediate solution to this stuff, but starting in maybe 3 months or 4 months, however long it would take us to have that released and then have the DAO feel comfortable switching, would make this process of like adding new plugins a lot simpler and quicker.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think there are a bunch of people at least thinking about kind of longer term, like how does this evolve? How do we make things easier? How do we add capabilities? So yeah, I think this is a conversation.
That's where we're going with it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it'd be great to see more kind of discussion between the DAO stack team and the Dxdao community members on like what that can look like and how we could employ it potentially.
Yeah, I think that we've put out some information about it a few months ago, but I think we'll probably be preparing a little bit more specifics soon for people that want to dive a little bit more into what's the actual technical differences. But yeah, the TLDR is basically that it's going to make things generally more efficient and simpler, and make it a lot easier to deploy new custom plugins, basically.
And increase security.
Always.
Awesome. Any other thoughts on treasury management before moving to the next topic?
I just want to say that I think that this is probably possible to do. Like Uniswap there's like a swap mechanism where you can send contract, a token. I think it's just ETH and DAI maybe, and then you can send it a token and you get it back. So I feel like if this is something urgent, this could be tested out right now by like sending 1 ETH to that contract, seeing if we get the equivalent in DAI back, and that could probably be done nowish, I want to say.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I don't view this as like super urgent. I think this is like about kind of protecting the DAO from volatility risk with Ether, which I think is a good idea. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess the risk would be that Ether just completely drops in price tomorrow or whatnot. But yeah, I don't think we need to like rush to do something personally. And then I think front running, I guess, is another concern, right? So if we were to just use Uniswap, it might be tough to move too much. Which reminds me that we probably should consider Mesa as well.
Yeah, I know we were discussing a Mesa integration.
That's true.
A Mesa plugin, basically, which I think is probably a good idea for us to talk about. But would certainly only be a part of this whole treasury management thing.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to use only one, I suppose, right?
Yeah, definitely. But I think the idea is
just kind of
that
one
Mesa ought to be better for large. If you're trying to switch a lot of tokens, you'll get it. Should be able to be more efficient.
I was going to just make like a meta point. And just thinking about treasury management for DAOs, like this is clearly like a product and service that is needed. And so I don't think that the Dxdao is going to be the only one that's going to need this. How Set is, I think had something. Reminded that like Amazon, like in their, like they would build internal products for themselves, like AWS was just their own internal product, and then they like scaled that, and then they can now sell it to everyone. And I think in a lot of ways, like for Dxdao and thinking about these services, like products and services, it's like, okay, well, it's great because there's already like one first customer and it's like a somewhat sizable amount. And so it's worth building something out. But I think whatever it is, like thinking about how it could be applied elsewhere. And I don't know if it's a product of the Dxdao or that's like a partnership with someone else, but.
Yeah, Dxdao should have the ability to leave an order on Mesa. And if that doesn't exist, then it should be built.
So this is actually something that we've been discussing. I mean, we'll share something short, like very soon about this. Yeah, because this is like the straightforward, the most obvious one where you could just trade on Mesa through the Dxdao.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason I was actually thinking of this is I just read Thomas's DxRaise post, and like that's basically what happened, right? Like, oh, the Dxdao like raised 4,000 Ether, and like this is a really cool way that does the decentralized. So like, can that now be productized and like used by other people?
Yeah, I think that's a really important point that like where Dxdao is maybe leading the way on a lot of DAO-related efforts, like how many of these things that we're kind of exploring / inventing could be productized themselves. When is Omen going live is the question coming up. It's on a lot of people's mind. It's there's actually a dev call tomorrow between the Protofire team and some of the devs involved with Dxdao. So I think it's getting very close to being ready. I don't think there's any any definitive dates that anybody can say. Like somebody's going to need to launch it. but it's getting very close to being ready. Right, so if we're done with treasury management, I think this is somewhat related, but DAO task and project management. So if you kind of think that, yeah, I mean, Ingemar, maybe you want to touch on this, but
Sure,
I think of
sure.
it in terms of just like how do DAOs do work? Right? How do we decide what we're building and then actually build it, facilitate that whole process?
Yeah, I think that on some of these calls we have a lot of great ideas, and I just want to make sure that like anybody who might have been out of the loop for a day or two could find a place to see like what ideas there are to pursue and like who's pursuing them and what the progress is like. And I know that we've had like some threads on like building that into the Dxdao or building that into Alchemy or whatever, but like even using something simple as like Asana like software just to organize for like the short term, I think that could be really beneficial. So I've been looking up like free software platforms that are like kind of easy to learn, where we can just post like objectives, and just like be able to assign them to people so that we like there's transparency in like what we're doing to move things forward. High task being one of the things that one of the apps I've been looking at. If someone has a better app, like totally open to it, but I'm looking to set that up soon and start inviting people who are like interested in like working with it.
Yeah, so I think this is a great idea, just to have a CRM of basically even logging all the ideas, seeing the progress, seeing yeah, who's building and what's needed and how do you progress to it. I was going to offer like I thought about kind of like the entire management is maybe to do like OKRs for the DAO. Some sort of like a workshop for everyone, just so everybody's kind of clear on, what's the goals and kind of like trickle down into like what's needed in order to reach those goals. I think like there's like the Mesa bounty, that's kind of like a nice clear goal that we can align by. But yeah, other than that, just define goals and yeah, trickle it down to how we get there.
I think one thing that is being used is the GitHub for specific repos, and like sort of a dev team is like hired by the DAOs to work on something, and then the product's being built that can have like the GitHub issues, and maybe even a project board kind of acts as a way.
We were using GitHub like projects for a time. I watch us talking. I watch us skiing about Jira. Please don't let's not use Jira. We had GitHub project for bonding Turdap and Dxdao. But yeah, I think they are kind of outdated. But yeah, GitHub projects are great for following up development.
I think it would be helpful to get like maybe a DAO Talk thread, just a thread going where people are putting what they would like to see or like what they need, maybe even stronger in a system like this, so that whoever is working on looking for the right tool could have a little bit of guidance.
All right, I'll make the thread today.
Sweet.
To request fee.
Yeah, I think it's great if people pick up these tools that make sense for the particular purpose. I wonder, is there efforts to do something in a more decentralized way though? Because I think a lot of this stuff, like kind of the problem is some individual needs to sign up for Trello with their email, it's not like officially owned by the Dxdao in any way directly. And like, is that something that we could be working towards? Like, what efforts are there out there to do stuff like this? I mean, I'd be curious maybe if the DAOs like guys have ideas or other people know of other efforts.
Yeah, I really don't know anything good for that. I mean, I think like Augusto said, using something like GitHub projects is fine for the individual projects. So using something kind of central on the inside of the like fractalized groups seems fine. But when you ask about, you know, where should some kind of master project management thing or something where someone could look to understand everything that's happening, that's where it starts to feel, to me at least, like, wow, it really would be nice to have something decentralized for that. And I'm really not aware of anything that would work well for it. It's like you want something that's like PeerPad, but a little bit more than like a notepad, I guess.
It's just a lot of these kind of you know, like some tools are just really hard for you know, like retail computer users to actually use. So it's kind of you know, you sacrifice a lot of like usability, like when you make like something like hard to like use or just like get involved in. But it is like I don't know if there are any good, I don't know, like really like collaborate. I mean, even PeerPad has its issues. Whenever I open it, like I don't see anything. I have to like reload the page, and I don't know. It's kind of frustrating. I don't know. There's like, is there any way to just kind of? I mean, one of the things that I think we've talked about in past calls is kind of just essentially like having a person, you know, whether legal entity or just like a human being, like that has some identity on the internet that we trust, like with kind of like domain management of whatever task the DAO kind of assigns to them, right? Like, you know, could someone just like host something for us, or could we host something ourselves? I don't know. I'm just really brainstorming because I do think that this is like a really important thing.
Yeah.
For something like task management, like it's
No, but
it can only help.
I more mean like, yeah, like do you envision like the DAO owning everything, or just kind of like kind of seeding little like little bubbles underneath the DAO that kind of, I don't know, like I don't really know what I'm talking about right now. Sorry.
No, it's all good.
Maybe this is related, but I previously had an idea for basically this is both security and kind of like the management of the DAO. So you would have like the treasury DAO, so to speak, and then it will have a whitelist of 3 or 4 DAOs that it can only send these money. And these DAOs are like Dxdao marketing, Dxdao development, Dxdao something. And then, you know, that main DAO kind of decides on a monthly basis which one of these sub DAOs will get money and how much. And that's kind of like an interesting architecture, sort of like a company at the end of the day, because then you're splitting it up to like the development department and the marketing department and legal department or whatnot. So this is like an idea. It won't be easy to implement though. So.
Oh, another thing worth mentioning in this conversation is like the wiki, or we were thinking about modifying that to make it so that, you know, the DAO could basically have its own, like a page where you could use proposals to control what was appearing on that page. Not really a project management system, but if you're looking for kind of like a simple single point of truth that represents the DAO to point new people to or something like that, it's a possibility.
How would the bounty network or the stuff that the competition scheme in DAOstack, did that get used for project management?
For project management? What did you have in mind?
I mean, it's very vague in my mind right now, but I sort of see this kind of like end-to-end process of like, okay, Dxdao wants to implement the second version of Omen, let's just say, right? And then there needs to be a decentralized process of A, collecting requirements, like then B, like prioritizing them, then C, like pricing them, and then like D, some, anybody bidding on them, and then like actually doing them and collecting the payments, so that you could have this, basically this kind of like amorphous organization building something without having to have like, oh, here's your project manager, and like here's your Trello board, but have it all kind of done through decentralized management tools and consensus-driven tools.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say with that is I think one of the lessons we've learned over the past year and a half is that fully decentralizing that level of coordination is like a capital H hard problem. So like, I think it's a good thing to work on, but I wouldn't bet your house on it being solved like in the next few months, because I think something that would work that way would just be so different in so many ways than the way that we have, run projects for so long, that it's probably going to have some bugs in it that you don't realize at the beginning. And even in the planning stage, it's already a lot of pieces to put together. So I think it's a good direction to go in, but
I'd rather be like getting shit done, not in a decentralized way, than trying to make everything like nice and, super decentralized. Right, because this is, I think like a lot of I think DAOs go through this problem a lot, actually, like where they raise a bunch of money and then they just like don't have an ability to like execute because they're trying to pretend like they're just like a little bit pregnant, like with having this. Fuck!
I think I muted Chris. Sorry, I heard some noise and I was trying to mute the noise, and I think I just muted. I thought I was
brushing some dust off my mouth.
I was like, I got him. Oh shit! That was the guy talking. Sorry.
Like I also, like I vacillate between like wanting to like do things like really decentralized, and then just like wanting to like pay teams who are interested in building cool shit money so that they can kind of like just work however they want to work, as opposed to kind of like having to be forced to use Trello or some shit.
I agree with that. I think that's the short-term way forward. Yeah.
I would add to this that, looking at something like Genesis, which is a DAO that went over like a year, most of the, let's say, correspondence and planning and all of that stuff happens off-chain, and then the decision-making is being done on-chain. And I don't think we have, truly like protocol level decentralized, I don't know, like Trellos or stuff like that. But yeah, for now, just because you're using that kind of like off-chain layer doesn't mean that it affects, like, at the end of the day, decision making is still being done on-chain, money is being distributed on-chain, and yeah, you can decide how to fractalize it along the way. Decentralized muting.
Yeah, Jitsi empowers the people to do whatever the heck they want.
Yeah, and
I just have a quick. I lean much more towards using the tools that allow people to get things done. It's kind of a parallel between the Dxdao itself. It started off with like 400 people, max decentralization, but a lot of apathy in its early months, and then ultimately like a handful of people drove it through. It was not to be like pessimistic about it, but like it was on the precipice of people maybe not caring if a couple people didn't kind of step up. So I really think we must empower people to just get on a Web 2 service and get work done, instead of like maybe postulating the best way to do it, like to our ideals and like let's get stuff done, and hopefully we decentralize things and others build these tools. But let's I don't think we should have such like apprehension about using whatever tools are the best for the job.
Yeah, we're sending around Google Sheets and Google Docs quite a bit, like because it's easy and we all use it, and we all use Gmail and all that kind of stuff. But then like when we put it onto like this FAQ I just edited for Omen, like we're not going to link to Google Docs from Omen. We're going to put a PDF and put that directly on IPFS, and then you link to that or something, right? So at the end of the day, you can leave things decentralized, but in the creating it using like centralized systems is almost mandatory, I think.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree with. We need to do what we have to like move quickly. But yeah, I think it's worth kind of while we're doing that, keeping the kind of core value of decentralization in mind and asking ourselves, how could this be decentralized? Like, who is helping to bring that to reality? I mean, I'm very much like, I feel very strongly like, if you're in crypto and you don't care about decentralization, like you're barking up the wrong tree. Like you should go home, because like that's the core value proposition. And I think it's very easy for projects over time to kind of lose that way, and to kind of, because of the pressures of like, oh, we raise money, we need to deliver, et cetera, and they take the centralized shortcut. And that's kind of like, I think where a lot of projects in crypto kind of lose their way. And I think in the long term, those projects will die out because they don't actually provide value to the kind of the core, along with the core value proposition of crypto. But yeah. I might see like, Elon, I think you're sound very jaded.
Well, this is just from talking. This is just from talking to like lots of projects, and I keep on saying this. If you got VC money, you will never decentralize, and if you've done an ICO, then it will be very hard for you to actually decentralize, because most people don't really care about it. I think this is what makes this so exciting. So.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's the truly decentralized things, or the things that are like most decentralized in crypto, that really like push the envelope forward and actually drive interest and growth in this space. You know, that's just my opinion.
Right. Well, like I think in the meantime, before these decentralized tools like are built, we got to have something. That's kind of like my position, like something in place for the short term until like we do build, or someone builds these like decentralized like platforms we can use.
Yeah, I think this was a lot of great points raised. I'm feeling like now maybe we should move to the next topic. Yeah, in a little bit.
Yeah, there's not much left, I guess. I think we wanted to recap the biz dev and the dev calls. Maybe Ingemar, if there's not a carnival going by, maybe you could recap the biz dev call, and then Gusto, maybe you could talk about the dev call.
The one from last week.
Last week's the last one.
Sure. So we talked a lot about Omen. We talked about the Mesa Challenge. So we came from that with like action items geared towards like reaching out to Set and seeing how they like do their rebalancing, and seeing whether Mesa can help. We did some work on Omen, or discussion on Omen. My memory kind of fails me.
Yeah, a lot of thinking about the markets and stuff, and how to facilitate activity on Omen, I believe. Yeah. Augusto, are you there?
Okay.
I think you're muted, Augusto.
Okay, now yes. Yeah, we had our first developer community call this Tuesday. It was very good. I think we were like nearly 10 people, maybe even more. So we we did a walkthrough of all our code base. We review our ongoing projects, our official projects of the Dxdao. For example, like bonding CureDAP, DXSwap, Omen, Mesa. There were developers contributing the source code that is being used on Mesa in the code. That was very helpful. So we are already starting working on that, making sure that starting organize ourselves. Then we also review some developer community projects. And yeah, we came up with a kind of a plan or priorities for this week that was to update, for example, the landing page where it's where we receive most of the collaboration. We already receive collaboration from outside developers on the landing page repository and in the Dxdao snapshot. We also talk a bit about security. So overall, it was very good. I was surprised how we were able to cover almost everything. So yeah, we are going to have the next one next Tuesday, and we are going to be reviewing hopefully the again the code base. Any developer here is welcome to join. Is 10-15 minutes before the call we set up the agenda. We have a fixed agenda. And yeah, that's it. I think I'm not missing anything else. It was all very good, and we are starting to get it organized ourselves.
Awesome. Thanks, Augusto.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Great. Is there anything else people wanted to announce or give updates on before we wrap?
One quick thing, guys. It's mostly maybe a question. I was asking John, maybe Augusto or Nico are the best to ask offline. But next week, the DMM group is going to launch their public sale on Mesa. So it'll be the first initial distribution on Mesa. They added the token to the Gnosis protocol in that very simple one function call way. I'm just kind of unsure now the best way to put it on the or guide them to put it on the front end. I'm not sure which scheme or which like what the new process is to get it actually on the UI, the Mesa UI. So that's a question for somebody to give you the updated way to do that, and also just to let you guys know that I think in exactly a week we will have the first distribution on Mesa. So I mean, I think actually, like Anna and some people are going to work on like a little publicity plan. So stay tuned for maybe how we could drum up interest for Mesa on that. But so that's just an FYI. But yeah, please, how do we actually put it on the UI?
Yeah, I believe that the TCR scheme is the way to do that, and to get kind of support on how to do that. I think bring it up in the development chat, and the devs will jump in and help you form that.
Okay, sure. Perfect.
Yeah. We can even simulate the proposal through Tenderly to kind of show that it will work, so we don't repeat the mistakes that we had with like the EMS problem with Mesa coming down.
Right, that was my fear. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Is there any guesstimated size of how big that offering will be, like in dollar terms? Is it like a hopeful plan or something?
I think it depends on a few updates this week from them, but in the millions. A couple million is let me like solidify that number, but it's there's some size there that'll be resting on Mesa.
That's awesome. So like, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Sky. I was just going to ask what if there were some public valuation numbers on TMM.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say like a couple million is a decent chunk towards the the Mesa Challenge goal, and especially if there's some secondary trading around that, if that's possible, instead of like people bringing that secondary stuff to Uniswap or something. If it's on Mesa, if it's already like live on the front end, you can continue to get that volume, and that's a pretty good chunk towards reaching the Mesa goal, the 20 million. And you get a couple more projects doing that, and Mesa becomes like the go-to place for these offerings. That's a great way to get volume because that's a unique standout feature that it has, I guess.
Right. That's exactly what I'm thinking towards the challenge. And as far as valuation, I don't know if there's anything to say right now, but there actually is kind of like I don't know how you would call it, but they're allowing kind of people that have helped them and spoken to them a little like private sale. Well, it's not like perfectly private to be clear, but they're basically like sending like a little widget link where somebody could buy trustlessly right now before the sale on Mesa, which will be at a 25% higher valuation. There's like a link kind of circulating now that just buys from like a curve, almost like a Dxdao style thing, like a man-made little sale widget, and then that will exist for like this week, and then next week like fully public on Mesa. So I'm going to ask one of the guys there to maybe post something in the DAO talk, and people could have a look at that, just get a bit more familiar. People could participate or just get educated on it for next week, and so we could have Mesa really do its job. I think I'm really excited about like just seeing how this works on Mesa. So I agree, Sky, and so I'll ask how to put it on the UI in the chat, and I'll ask one of the teammates there to put it on DAO Talk.
Great.
Awesome. I haven't had a chance to check it out, but I know there's also another relevant to Mesa. There's another proposal by a Dxdao member to help facilitate some of trading, Ukrainian stablecoin. So that's something to check out as well.
Cool.
You don't know the currency of Ukraine?
I don't dare try to pronounce it because somebody else. I've seen it spelled. More consonants than I dare try
I have
to.
no idea.
I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, but yeah.
Maybe one thing to bring up. I don't have any thoughts on it exactly, but so DXD is doing nicely on Loopring's ZK rollup exchange, Loopring.io. It's actually kind of like the most organic pair, kind of listed with nothing, and a bunch of people stepped up, and a lot of people in Loopring community, it's their favorite token to trade. So that's what's awesome to see. As mentioned in the DX Biz chat kind of a week or two ago, any day now we're launching the ability, like Loopring is kind of expanding from just scalable exchanges to scalable payments. So anybody on the rollup will be able to send simple token transfers to each other for like instantly and for free, like gas free. And I think we will waive fees completely because it's quite negligible that we could subsidize the few cents or less that it would cost. But maybe like I'll take this offline, but maybe there's something we could really do that's cool, that porting the Dxdao onto the rollups so everybody has free transfers just from like a cool novelty type thing. There's also some people, I think Sky and Ingmar had good ideas about how we could use it even as a signaling. I mean, this kind of plays into the decentralization thing and like what tools we need. I don't know if we need to like signal, like it's fine to signal consent elsewhere and then ultimately put it on chain, like for the real thing. But there's also something to be said that like you can't spoof your Ethereum address. So the Ethereum address that is on the rollup, like it's perfectly mapped, like an account ID in the Merkle tree is mapped to an Ethereum address where you see if it holds rep. We could use that as a signaling. So I guess I'm saying two things here. One, like maybe we'll have just free transactions, cool for the Dxdao, or maybe we add a little promotion, all DXD holders. If you hold DXD, you get free transfers. The other thing is, do we want to use this as a signaling thing? The example given was, hey, do we like as an interim this before on chain, especially in high gas prices and the coordination cost? Hey, do we support this? Send 0.00001 DAI to this address on the rollup. So basically, like a free signaling mechanism, but that is attached to the address. So maybe it saves people time, it saves people gas. Honestly, this is obviously not a core competency of what we designed Loopring for. It's scalable exchanges and payments, but maybe it's also quick signaling. So I'm just bringing that up there. There's a bunch we could do maybe around Dxdao on a ZK rollup payment rail. That's it.
Free transfers for DXD holders on layer 2 sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, I really like that idea. I think that would pop out to people who like don't know about DXD.
Right. So I'm pretty sure we could do it. The one thing is like I don't know how much of a burden that is on like the relayer team, the actual one that keeps track of the Merkle tree. Like what is the rule? Like if you had DXD for 1 second, is that fine? Or like you have to hold it? It's like a 30-day average balance. So it's like deciding that rule and then actually making sure it's not so cumbersome for the relay team to keep track of like a balance in the Merkle tree. Other than that, like theoretically, like I'm super on board, and I think I could like push this through with no resistance because again, it's not like a heavy cost to subsidize. It's just like off the top of our head, just very quickly, like one DXD token is enough, or we want like a threshold, and do they hold it for like a second, or do they have to hold it for 7 days and it looks like a 7-day average balance on like how do you think about that? I
mean, without considering technical constraints, I would think ideally it'd be currently holding DXD like that. That's like your membership, and then whatever the threshold would be. I think less than one DXD probably, because there's only 100 and there's only like less than 30,000 DXD in the wild. So.
That's true.
I mean, one of the things that one of the things I think about like on the trading side of things that I think is like worth mentioning because it definitely impacts how speculators think about DXD, and that is like it's a very like there's not a lot of like actual tokens out in the wild, and we need to like argue about this in like in Maker, where like MKR, there's 1 million MKR, people like that. Oh well, like that shit is like too expensive to like buy, right? But really, with the bonding curve, and there only being like so much actual supply, I wonder if maybe we should be talking about like and just classic shit posts. Like so, I'm just really don't feel strongly about this at all, but thinking about ways to keep the same distribution of tokens, right? So like 1 DXD still equals 1 DXD, but coming up with some other nomenclature about a smaller amount of, and essentially using that as like our unit of account as opposed to DXD. Just thinking about kind of some of the things that I guess I personally worry about it like as a speculator. So
interesting.
Yeah, the equivalent of Sats or Gwei or something like along those lines.
Yeah,
help people reason about the amounts of DXD. Yeah, because technically you can divide it as much as you want, right? So the fact that it's 100,000 versus a million versus a billion doesn't really matter, but yeah, nomenclature and
Yeah.
kind of
I don't
matters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kelleher's. We call them Kelleher's.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, John. That would be a terrible coin name.
Actually, sounds pretty good.
I think we should call them.
Sounds like a unit name.
Yeah.
Then we
10
should call
Kelleher's of energy.
Dixes. Like
No,
you have
you
a DXD token, and then you have some Dix. You have one Dix.
You got some dicks.
Just a DX.
I'm pretty sure the call is over time right now. So
DX.
Okay.
Final question. Just does anybody have ideas if we were to have a business development call tomorrow, like what you would like to have discussed? I just want to make sure that these calls are.
I actually wasn't sure if it should be on this call.
Yeah.
What?
What was that?
The things that I'm going to talk about, I guess, tomorrow are the treasury management piece around insurance. Someone brought it up today, but I don't think that there's time to like get into that now. And then I'd like to talk about my my shit posting idea about this like smaller unit of account to describe DXD. That's all I have really.
I'd say
Also,
I might have a DMMer to come on so that he could inform everybody about their sale plans for Mesa, size, dates. That seems very business development-y.
Fantastic. Then I'll make a post today, scheduling one for tomorrow. And I don't plan for it to be recorded, but I'll do my best to post notes.
Cool.
Cool. Thanks, guys. I'm gonna hop off.
all right, yeah,
Been
we're
great
over
talking.
time here. Thanks everybody for coming, and see you around.
Thank you.